Hi, I'm Aaron Little. This is Performance Edge. We just wrapped up a full contact gunfighting class here in Lexington, Kentucky, and a friend of mine was in the class, and I want to give him an opportunity to introduce himself to my viewers, talk about what he's got going on and what he does, and get his thoughts on the channel. So, Billy, introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, it's Billy Birdzell. In my day job, I work for Remington. And in a past life, I spent 8 years in the Marine Corps. I was in the infantry, and I was in the Marine Corps Special Operations. Okay. I have a very solid background in firearms. I have somewhat of a background in combatives. I did the Marine Corps martial arts program while I was a young guy in high school. I was exposed to martial arts as well as wrestling. However, don't have as much hand-to-hand skills as I would like. And in our 2-day full contact gunfighting course, it was just amazing to me about, number one, a lot of the stuff of like high school wrestling really helps, especially against people who are untrained. However, the number of variables that start happening when I have a knife and a gun, he has a knife and a gun, and we're rolling. There's some stuff where it was like a big advantage, and other things where people who had no firearms experience, like absolutely no firearms experience, were getting a gun out as fast as I could get my gun out.
Right. Awesome. There was a theme, and I think this comes from Remington. You mentioned it a lot across the 2 days when we would do things like, tell me something you learned, what's your thoughts on this. You use the expression live ready. And I think that's an initiative Remington has going on.
It sure is. So at Remington, we are getting back to our roots of introducing handguns. So a lot of people don't know that Remington in the 1800s had fantastic handguns. The Remington 1858 as well as the Remington 1875 were really leaders in their area. We also made like the very first true concealed carry pistol.
Wow.
In an all metallic cartridge.
Nice.
Which was the Remington Model 95. It was a double barrel Derringer in 41, in 41 rimfire, which is, doesn't exist anymore, but it was nonetheless a concealed carry firearm, and 41 will, do a job on you. And then in World War I, we made 1911s. However, it's certainly been a long time since we had handguns, and now we are rolling product out this year, and we'll continue to develop our handgun line. And as part of that, we have this campaign called Live Ready, which is all about being prepared for situations that have severe consequences. And within that, obviously having a handgun is incredibly important, and carrying, you can have it, make sure you carry your handgun, is part of living ready. However, you also need to be able to get that gun out.
Yes.
And you need to know the difference between a fist fight and a lethal force situation. And this course that you had here up at Performance Edge was phenomenal, like absolutely fantastic at both technical skills, but also in decision making and scenarios and the education of putting some context to what we're going to face out there in the world.
Guys, the reason we created the full contact gunfighting class was, you've heard me say before, if you follow my YouTube videos, the first 2 critical steps in self-defense is recognizing bad things are about to happen, and then a willingness to act. If there's the third step would be being able to act in a timely, efficient, effective manner. All of that precedes whatever your technique, your tool is, I have to see it coming, be willing to do something about it, and then be able to deploy whatever that thing is I'm going to do. The full contact gunfighting class, that's where it focuses, on those first 3 steps. Yes, knives come out, yes, training guns come out, but that's almost insignificant. I mean, it's important how I press the trigger, how I use a knife, but if I don't see it coming, if I'm not willing to do something about it, and if I can't get to my gun, if I can't draw my gun out while someone is pummeling me, stabbing me, whatever, then all of those other skills are useless. Billy, it was awesome having you in the class. Billy, he brought a great mix to the class with a good solid wrestling background, which a lot of the other students in the class weren't ready for. And I believe, you probably experienced this too, it really opened their eyes. There's a lot of wrestlers walking the street. There's a lot of people who wrestled in high school, maybe even elementary school or middle school, people who wrestled in college that aren't necessarily good guys. And somebody with just a wrestling background, 15 years ago, more, 20 years ago for you?
I wrapped up my wrestling career closer to 20 years ago.
But yet, under pressure, he still saw some of those wrestling tools coming out to defend himself. That happens for bad guys too. If good guys training to protect ourselves, we need to be able to protect ourselves against that skill level.
And another like neat point along those lines of skills was one of my training partners was much better at jiu-jitsu than I am. I really don't have much of a foundation in jiu-jitsu. However, I was consistently beating him with weapons when we were on the ground because he was going for an arm bar and I was pulling out a gun.
Correct.
Or, you know, he was trying to do some sort of a choke and I was stabbing him.
Yes.
And so this course makes that transition between sports and fighting.
Yes.
And also fighting armed, because it's a long way from a unarmed martial art to an armed martial art.
Yes.
And this course put that all together in a way that I've never done before. Something
that I saw, and I'm interested to see if you saw this as well, those same students, those with the sport background, beginning of the day yesterday to end of the day today, once they started to develop an awareness of protecting their gun, controlling your gun, how much harder it became to stab and shoot them.
Oh, very much so, especially because when we're on the ground and with these holsters that only have friction retention, which I think are by far the most popular type of concealed holster, well, it is cake to pull somebody's gun out of his holster, especially at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock on top of him. And there was many times where I pulled someone else's gun out, which I didn't know exactly where it was, but in the process of rolling on the ground, you find it, the shirts pull up, you can see it, and I just pulled the other person's gun out and shot him with his own gun.
Yes, yes. Guys, to say things like sport training has no place, going to the ground in a street fight's a horrible idea. Come to a full contact gunfighting class. See how all those components actually fit together into an overall live ready strategy. But again, I'm Aaron Little. This is Performance Edge. I really want to thank Billy for taking the time at the end of a hard 2 days to step in front of the camera and give you his thoughts on the class. If you have follow what Remington's got going on. Take a look at their Facebook page. Take a look at their Instagram page. They got some exciting stuff. They shot some pictures and video from the weekend you may see on there. But follow what they're doing. I think you've got a YouTube channel, right?
I sure do. It's just Billy Birdzell on YouTube, and I've been doing videos about an assortment of topics.
All right, so check that out. If you got thoughts, comments, ideas about this video, please leave it in the space below. Consider subscribing to our channel and share this with your friends. Thanks.